The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation.
Good evening, and if you're just tuning in and you're watching or listening, you are with us on UPRN, or UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network, and this is the Angel Rock, and I'm sure you recognize these two beautiful ladies beside me. I'm going to get into a little of the housekeeping, as I call it. My name is Lorilei Potvin. I'm a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, registered nurse, well-versed in the paranormal and near-death experiences, as I usually mention every week. And these ladies are no stranger either. I also want to thank Carnation, because we have Carnation Mondays here on UPRN. And I'm so grateful that they also support the Angel Rock on Monday nights. So please, you guys, go out, and Carnations all over the world, support them, because they support us here so we can bring these great programs to you. Also, remember to stay. I always like to tell people at the beginning, stay tuned afterwards, because we have the Light Gate coming up with Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron right after this. And we do stream. The beautiful thing about UPRN to every country in the world. This network's been around for 25 to 30 years. And we stream multiple shows daily, 7 days a week. And when we're not streaming live, the archive server kicks into the last 25 plus years. So there really is something for everybody on this network. It's not all just UFO and paranormal. And we are always bringing new shows and new hosts on the network. Don't forget, you can watch us on TV. The network has a TV channel. It's Roku. How you can find that, you're going to the channel store and typing in UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio. And that's how you can find us and watch us on your TV. I'm checking you guys' Instagram. We got a big warning before. They're not working. It says we're live, but it's not working. So if you can see us, I can't see your comments, but I thank you for joining us and everybody here. So tonight, as a special treat, Michelle Desrochers, who is to the right of me, and she has her own show, Beyond the Outer Realm, on Tuesdays, and the Outer Realm on Wednesdays and Thursdays. She's also our station manager, is here tonight. We're continuing kind of part two. She had myself and the lovely, beautiful Kerrilynn Shellhorn. Both these ladies are gorgeous. Kerrilynn also has her own show on the network on Fridays, 6 p.m. And I should have mentioned your shows are 9 p.m. Wednesdays, Thursdays. Sorry, Michelle.
All right.
She has Spirit Switchboard. And then Kerrilynn and I work together on Thursdays. We co-host Beneath the Hollow Moon, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to throw a little pitch in there. Get ready, because we're doing haunted, cursed movies and such. It's going to be fun. Welcome, ladies. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure hanging out with you girls.
Yes. So I was talking with Kerrilynn on the weekend, and you. We've been talking lots, but I was thinking, what could we talk about that would be kind of fun? That, of course, I'm sure you've talked about them many times, both of you. But Tulpas, Egregores or Egregores, Golum, Dybbuk boxes, and I thought, what a cool topic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have talked about it zero.
Have you?
Yeah. So I'm excited because I have thoughts and questions.
Good. Well, let's say hi to everybody quick. I try not to highlight and talk at the same time because they usually just mess it up. So we're going to say hi to Vet Girl 84. We got Z-Sun Dragon, or I always call him by his muggle name, Kevin. And we, Kevin sent me some, I forgot to tell you, Kerrilynn, Kevin rewatched Thursday's night's show, and he thinks he picked up more than one whistle as if EVP. He gave me a few other timestamps I got to check out. You get EVPs on that show together.
Very cool.
I feel we need to ask some people to review that and see if there's we have to left brain it a wee bit, because that's a lot in one. Like it's
Well,
a
what
lot.
did I say to you though? I said Kerrilynn said when we were doing haunted tunnels and creatures from mines and stuff, she said, I wonder if we're going to get an EVP. We did. I did not hear it. It was whistles. Then I said to her, I forget what show it was a couple of weeks ago. I said, I have a really funny feeling we're going to get an EVP. And we did. And then we said the same thing. Yes. And then last Thursday, and it was on your end, the whistle, and you tried to debunk it, a whistle sound again. And it was the opposite side on the first time it had happened. So I don't know what that is, but
yeah. And confession, because clearly you haven't brought it up, but I said a salty word, and then I was like in horror that I said the salty word.
Salty word.
And I just said we're just moving on, and
Joe says salty words all the time.
That's what
okay.
Yeah. I know, but I don't say it. I mean, I do outside of here, but I know better. And it just popped out because it was so
shocked. You were that
shocked. It was so loud right beside me. Like it was being right in my ear. It was kind of crazy.
I have haunted lighting. It doesn't matter. Like it goes from, I have the lights on, the curtains open. I've got a light here. And this happens every time I do a live show. It's so weird. No, you were so shocked by that it wasn't like you, like we were talking and all of a sudden I can't even describe what it sounded like. It was weird. So
I love it.
Astrolight Paranormal, which is Victoria. Welcome for joining us. Let's see. Everybody's chatting. I love that our chat. You guys follow all of our shows and many of the other great shows on the network. And you're always so kind to new people that drop in. And I always tell my guests, I didn't have to tell you ladies, but new guests that we have a very intelligent audience. You are the ones that make this show. And the people that are listening too, I always say to them, if you want to join the chat and you're listening, you could head over to YouTube. There's many places over there. We're on the UPRN main channel, which is UFO Paranormal United Public Radio Network. We are on my YouTube channel, The Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin. We are on The Outer Realm. I think it's with Michelle Desrochers. Is it not, Michelle, for YouTube for you?
Yes, it is. Basically, it's
The Outer Realm Radio.
No, it's correct. It's correct. You're good.
Yeah, I was just looking at the name. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're listening,
I don't even know my own YouTube name. It's the Outer Realm Radio in brackets, my name, because I also use it for my personal thing, which is where I started.
Yeah.
Until we lost a whole bunch of archives.
Yes, we did. We did. And when I'm reaching out to new guests, I always say, please don't just look at, say, our YouTube channel or other places, because you don't want to give them too much information, but you kind of want to explain that we have a really big global exposure. So, please, if you're interested, come on. We'd love to have you. So we've got Julie Jean Bassett. I'm going to give her a huge shout out. I always do. I think, Michelle, you've had her on before, and I know Kerrilynn has with her privately. I have. She's helped me very much with animals of my own. She can also work with animals mediumship wise, and she's an incredible shamanic practitioner. I've had a life-changing session with her probably about 9 months ago. It really was life-changing, you guys. So check her out. Julie, I keep promising you I'm going to remember your new website, and I keep forgetting. So feel free to share in the chat. But I know you can find her on Facebook under Julie Jean Bassett or juliejeanbassett.com too. So we got Diane Brighton. Got Contessa Martin saying hi. Heidi Gall. We got Kirby's 100. Let's see. Going. Julie Dow. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hopefully, we got Janie Mashburn. Welcome. That's a new name I'm seeing. So welcome. Let's see. I'm going, and she said hi, Michelle, to you.
Hello, Janie. Hello.
We got Michelle Plummer here. Welcome. Let's see. Kathy Henley Little. Glad to see you back. We were missing you. I'm glad you've been back the last week or so. It's been nice to see you back. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Constance Victoria Briggs.
Constance. Hello.
Yes. She's been with the Rock a couple times too. So welcome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Several. Constance is a freaking flyer on the show.
Yes, but she's always such an intriguing guest.
She is for sure.
So where do you ladies want to start? Because Kerrilynn's got questions.
Oh, I mean, the questions will probably come up as we get going, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was an organization connected, I think, to Tulpas that I didn't know about, and I had come across the word. Is it tulpamancy?
I didn't know about that either. I shared that with you. Have you heard of a tulpamancer? You probably have. You're such an
thanks to Nathaniel Gillis, who's been on my show many times, a very dear friend who dives so deep into topics that your head goes, what?
Wow.
Because I've heard of tulpas, but tulpamancing, it's crazy stuff.
It is. And so I'm going to give a quick definition
because
I came across another term I've heard before. So for people that don't know the difference between a tulpa, and you can call it an egregore, I've heard it called an egregore. And the third one is a servitor. So a tulpa is an entity, and this was written by NYX Shadowhawk. I don't want to take credit for something that's not mine. This was shared actually on the website Quora, Quora. So a tulpa is an entity created by a person, a thought form with a degree of will and autonomy. It's basically a sentient imaginary friend. The word is Tibetan. I don't know if I'd agree with it being, well, I guess I've never run into tulpas that have been too friendly, but I guess they could be. The word egregore comes from Greek and has referred to a number of things, but modern occultists mostly use it to refer to a tulpa created by a group of people instead of one person. A servitor is a tulpa, my mouth does not want to work today, created to serve the magician, usually by accomplishing a specific task. It's like an astral robot. Thoughts, ladies? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about that?
Well, I think tulpa, let's go to the most famous of all tulpas, which is Slenderman, right? Created in a game room, chat room, and everybody, and everybody started giving this thing characteristics. So much so, they tweaked it so much so where there started being sightings and an actual legend that got attached to this, but sightings of Slenderman. And that all started from a mindset in a gaming chat room. Perfect example.
So that's where my confusion is.
Okay.
Sorry.
Me too, because, to me, that a tulpa, Slenderman, but people contribute energetically to the thought, the talk about it.
Platform,
drawing it, because I can tell you I have a neighbor, and her granddaughter comes over often and pops over, and she was laughing because she's 12, and her and I were understanding everything we're talking about, and her grandmother is looking at us like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, that's because I've never grown up. But anyways, the reason I bring it up, she's drawing, and she's an incredible artist. How it had started, she had knocked on the door and asked if she could make a drawing for my son that passed away. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. But as she's showing me her drawings, I go, is that Slenderman? And she says, yeah, how did you know? I said, I know what he looks like. And I thought, that's interesting to be drawing that, but I'm thinking kids even that age, right? There's just one little kid. I'm not saying every kid is, and she's not little, she's a tween, but we're all contributing collectively. So how do we make the difference between a tulpa and an egregore?
Well, they're very similar. I mean, one is like more along one, you have to understand, tulpas fall into things like even golems, which is an old ancient, like not what people think, oh my God, it's like a demonic thing. I mean, technically you start getting into golems, this was like a Jewish thing, where a Jewish folklore thing where they started making them out of clay, and, where they would start like putting, they were often created by people. With all of these, it seems that they're created by people and thought form. But I mean, when you're making something out of clay, for example, right, and this thing takes on life, I mean, some of these things get willed to their descendants.
Yes, they do. Because I did quite a bit I knew about golems. How I found out about them was years ago. I have one guilty pleasure. It's supernatural. They have an episode. It's in the 8th season, season 13. I actually got a clip of it, even if we get time to show it, because they did talk about a golem. And I thought, gosh, I don't think I've heard about these. So I did a lot of research. And I even got into them it's always like the head of a church, right? Like the rabbi. And they got into the history about how it started. And you're right, they're not created to be evil, but they did have to destroy some of them because they kind of got out of hand. They were misconstruing their instructions. But this one that I looked at, the golem was created, they pulled in the elements of air, water, and I think fire, and earth was covered with creating from the clay, and they're non-verbal.
Yep.
So, but the thing we go back to, and that's where I've always been confused as well, Kerrilynn. So you're not alone, because to me, a tulpa, yes, it can be created within the mind of one individual. Does it then switch into an egregore once other people come on board, like Slender Man or Thin Man?
Well, I mean,
So-
sorry, go ahead, Kerrilynn.
I was just gonna say my confusion was more like in distinctions, right? I guess,
Yep.
which is what we were talking about. And so my understanding was that tulpas were individually created. So even like a lot of neurodivergent people can create something that gives them company. So it's just more individual. Egregores, or however I pronounce that, because I'm sure that I'm butchering that, but I thought that was more like Slender Man, but could include Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, like, because it
big time on the Santa Claus, especially,
right. And so collective thought form, putting all of that together, and the golem was more religious and for protection. So like in my head, I had them categorized that way, but all different similarities and potential to become something else, depending on what it like.
I'm with you.
I wasn't sure I understood all that.
So
and even corporate ones, right? Could corporate, like, I don't know, like Apple or Google.
Yeah, so you're basically talking about like even a company can become its own entity with all of the emphasis and mindset thrown into it. I think anything can become I always say become alive if you give it life. Right? If you breathe life into something, whether it's an idea, whether it's like, I mean, you look at Slenderman. I say Santa. I've been talking about that. Like, honestly, I've been a harpy about that. Every time Tulpa comes up with one of my guests, I'm like, well, then you have to include Santa Claus. There are people who just research the phenomenon of Santa Claus, and it's always dressed in the more traditional vintage way that Coca-Cola invented. The red suit, the jolly man, the big red cheeks. So why is it? And what people are seeing, sometimes he's pretty darn angry. Like he just walks in. There's been reports of him just standing in doorways staring at you.
Or Krampus, the alter ego of.
Yeah.
I met somebody.
Krampus is an old folklore, though.
Right? But I don't know how he found me. And I've shown Carrie. I don't know if I've
Krampus.
No, but I'll have to Kerrilynn.
Naughty.
No, but there's a guy that found me on, I don't know how, a couple of years ago, and he lives in Austria, and he's German. And he says, you over in North America, you don't say it correctly. It's Krampus, he kept saying. And then, because my name comes from German mythology, it's basically almost spelt that way, but I'm named after the morbid story of the Lorelei's, okay? But I'm not German, but it said Lorilei, go figure. Yeah. But anyways, he made me a video, and he was out on the street. I don't know if they were friends or what. There was 4 of them all dressed up. And he's going, this is what Krampus is, and it's very positive over here, and we don't look at it the way that you guys do. It was actually a really cute video. Like, he wasn't being angry, and I appreciated to have his perspective, because I've always thought that Krampus was kind of a negative connotation, right?
He steals children.
Yeah.
Naughty children. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's overly precious by any means, but but I guess there's a lot more to every piece of folklore than what what we're all aware of.
Michelle Plummer has a really good point. I'm so glad you brought this up, because I have this question too, is why do it seems younger children? We had a hat man at my house, the haunting. We had 4 main entities, and we always see the same thing when it's the hat man. So she said, I wonder if hat man will come up tonight. Someone who is skeptic said they saw something similar to that in my hallway last night. Paired with my unease I was feeling, I am leaning on the side of believing him. Oh, now they all want to see the Krampus video. I can probably find it and upload it for you while we're talking if you want. It's not that long.
Shadow people in general, being hat man, the hat men shadows tend to be very aggressive, apparently. I've not personally encountered one, but I've worked with many people who have, and they do. Shadows on average can be. However, we've had shadow people at the manor, and didn't have any issues. And one was almost described to us by a guest visiting, almost like it was more, I guess, more white, like smoky than actual dark shadow. But, there's a lot of different theories with that too. Some people believe they're time travelers. Some people believe that they're just race of other multidimensional beings, Hat man.
And everybody sees the same thing, and we did too. He's wearing a hat,
That's
like
right.
a big hat, usually like a rain slicker.
That's right.
Yeah, but why do we all see the same? I think I get sort of what Michelle's saying. Why do we versus shadow people?
A type of shadow person, yeah.
Because shadow people, I don't agree that all are negative or evil.
No, we didn't have any issues at the manor with them. And again, it's just coming down to, who are they? Where do they come from?
And where would not having any influence or knowing about hat man, right? Like not having that on your radar at all.
That was us.
And having that experience, right? Like not having been part of the conversation or seeing it on anything and then having it show up.
We didn't know anything about hat man. We started comparing notes. The boys started talking about, they were seeing this thing, they said, with red eyes in their closet. Now, my youngest didn't have the verbal language, but he could hear his brother describing what they were seeing when they were young. And I went, what the heck is this? And so I started researching. This was years ago. And I went, this is a whole phenomena. And you hear, I know Michelle, I probably Kerrilynn too. We have people that message us, right, with their kids being terrorized by hat man, and they describe it exactly the same way. So why are we seeing just all around the world? I get shadow people, and I understand he belongs to shadow people.
He's in the shadow person realm for sure, but aggressive. I've heard that too.
That's was my understanding, was that it was more aggressive.
Yes. Yes.
I've never seen them. I've only ever seen like a shadow being twice, and it's darker than dark. Like,
oh yes, they are. I've had people send me a couple of videos. I was just like, crazy, or photographs, and you could spot them just sitting there. Like it's just like, wow, that's crazy.
I have a photograph too, but I would never have said it was a shadow person, but it is a shadow.
This
figure.
one's very defined. Yeah,
maybe I just talk myself out of it.
If you want to pull it up. Like that's so. I'm looking
for the
video.
I'm not sure where I've got it. But we took it with a Polaroid camera too, which adds a little,
a lot of validity with a Polaroid for sure. Can't fudge it.
Okay, so Contessa is having this conversation, and I'm glad that you're talking amongst yourselves too. She had always believed that Golum are from the supernatural world. What are your thoughts?
Sure, why not? Some people mistake what they call demonic entities as golems. This is the type of little entity they're seeing. A lot of times they look at them as like a little golem from Lord of the Rings, little bald and little pointy ears, and just, they just slither about and such, right? But I mean, anything that can be created through thought form is a manifestation, could be considered supernatural.
Would Slenderman disappear if we all stopped talking about it? Or is it's already created so we can't uncreate him?
Well, You know what? I don't know how many people still talk about it, or if they still, if they're still even tweaking this personality. But here's the thing. You would think if they put together a Slender Man and you stop talking about it, it would be done. But the problem is this Slender Man, there have been sightings all over the world. Does that make one Slender Man, or does that make several Slender Men?
I gotta turn this down, sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry about that. I found the Krampus video, by the way.
Yeah. So, so if that's the case, are we dealing with one? Are we dealing with several? Would not talking about them anymore. It seems as though they've evolved, not just in the manifestation side of things, but maybe enough that there are more of them.
Well, this is it. And then my brain goes 18 different directions. So the more that we feed them by giving them energy, right? The more that we have fed them, do they, open their own portals and dimensionally move around and allow other things?
Well, are they mimicking? Is somebody else mimicking them, or something else mimicking them?
Exactly.
Because there are things out there. Yeah. Right. Mind blowing. But yeah, I think there are a lot of things out there that mimic many different. I mean, they mimic anything and everything.
Guys, they're all hearing growling. I just said.
But did it come up? Did that come up when you were? Did the growling happen when you were playing the video before you turned it down?
We'll have to look at it and see. We'll see, because that was 6:35.
Was it a growly Krampus?
Very closely. So I
didn't growling Krampus.
No, there's no growling on the video, but you guys could have heard that. So we'll put that as a. You'll have to listen back and see.
Yeah, just flag the time if you guys can.
Yeah,
if you can.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, go back. I've got transcripts set up on here, so I can go back and look through the transcripts. I turned the
when I was talking. Great. Probably something trying to fight with my freaking airtime. Buzz off, my turn.
Do you guys want to see the Krampus video? I finally found it.
Yes.
Okay, hang on. It's not that long. It's only 40 seconds. I just thought it was really sweet because I still don't know how this, and he's such a nice man. I don't talk to him all the time. He's much younger than I am, but, and he's just like friends. And he has a really unique and unusual way even of investigating paranormally than I've ever heard. Like with using a Ouija board and an EMF meter. And he sent me evidence of things he's encountered. Like there was one video clip he sent me. It looks like this light anomaly. They're in this old church and it looks like it goes into his lower back. Lo and behold, he can't walk for a week later and his back was really, really sore.
Wow.
So, Hang on, let me upload this. I gotta do it because a bunch of people are sending notifications.
Okay, I've got the Polaroid. Do you want me to show you?
Yes, please do, Kerrilynn, and I'll set this up. Yes, please do.
I don't have the files, so if I just hold it up, is that all right?
Sure, whatever works for you. Or can you send it to me? I can upload it. Do you have? Oh, it's a pair. You've just got the Polaroid, right?
Well, I have it somewhere. It's just taking the time to do it. It stresses me out.
If
I should have got it earlier. But I can hold it up, and you will see if you can see it.
I can put my glasses on.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking like the.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, yeah.
Right at the edge of the table. So the thing is, we were all sitting and the room was dark. There was no light, but the equipment that's on the table here was going off. So I just took the picture towards the table. But sorry.
Nope,
you can see it. Yeah, you can see it.
And gone. Yeah.
But you can see this right up in there.
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah. Hopefully that didn't pull up, guys.
Yeah, you do see it. Yeah.
Let me pull it down. Here, go ahead again, Kerrilynn. I'm sorry. Sometimes it'll come up.
We're good.
Okay, so it's only 40 seconds long, and we got lots of great comments in here. Like, this is why it's such an interesting conversation to have about these type of beings. And again, as we always say, and I've heard all of us say this at one time or another, none of us are really going to know the truth till we all go back home ourselves, or whatever you want to call it, where we go, depending on what someone's belief system is. I call it back.
When we get there. Yeah, that's always I'll let you know when I get there.
Okay, so like I say, it's not that long. I just thought it was really sweet. So if I got the volume on now, yes, good. Okay, hang on.
That's the real Krampus, yeah? Not Krampus, sondern Krampus, yeah? Look at them, Lorilei. That's our Austrian culture. Oh, yeah, you look evil. He looks really evil. Look at that. That's our Austrian culture. Yeah, the bad brother of Santa Claus, would you say? Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. That's our culture. Bye. Look at me. Show me number one. Yeah, the blue eyes. Really good. It's made of wood, isn't it? It's made of wood.
Okay, so that's why he sent it to me, and he was jokingly saying real evil, isn't it? Because he was telling me that us over in North America have a completely different opinion of Krampus, as he said. And yeah, and I just thought it was cute that he sent that video because I didn't ask him for it.
But you know, I'm going to start calling you Lorilei now.
Oh, everybody does.
Everybody does.
Yeah, I'm going to start calling you Lorilei.
Just call me Lore. Everybody does that knows me well, because I can't blame people for being confused.
I love the old traditional, Norse bits of folklore. Krampus has always been the one that's, it seems to be the one that everybody gravitates to. Getting into the old traditional stuff. Certain times of the year, he's the go-to guy.
Well, there's movies. I watched one recently at Christmas last year. That was a new one out there, and I think it had The Rock, and Krampus was involved. It was a kids type movie. It was funny, and he was the head elf that guarded Santa Claus, and Santa Claus was retiring, and then he got kidnapped. It was actually kind of a cute story, but they did pull Krampus in there, and Krampus became a good guy by the end of it to help Santa. I didn't give the story away. So
very nice.
Yeah. So Charlene says, Judith says, I may have encountered a golem. He showed up in my dreams several times until one night I heard whistling and saw him.
Whistling again. Isn't that interesting? The whistling comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm. Because as I've seen it,
what did the golem look like?
I was just going to say that. Yeah, what did it look like?
Wouldn't they all look different?
They do, but the original one's name was named Joseph, I believe. And then you get into the story of it, and he was much larger and stronger than any human being. He also had a Jewish word by the creator of the person. It would be like the head rabbi, the head person. And it was basically, from what I understand, created from all four elements, as well as there was mystical language within, I believe, the Torah, that only the head rabbi could do this. And the reason why the original one, I think this might have been, Michelle, you'll probably know better than me, the 1500s, 1600s, is it was to protect the Jewish people. They were in war. And so the pictures I saw was golems are never supposed to be able to speak. I've definitely heard what you've said, Michelle, that they can be willed from family member to family member, but they're there for...
They put scrolls under their tongues or somewhere in the body. There's scrolls, if I'm not mistaken. There's always little bits of paper or scrolls or something that sort of activates them. Which, maybe it's just the information, the spell, who knows, I'm not that versed in them. So
they had to destroy this golem named Joseph. So he was quite big. Anytime I've seen them, except for Supernatural, it was a human being, but they always look like they're made of rock or stone. Have you ever seen those Rock'em Sock'em robots way back in the day? That's
yes. Yes.
And so they said they eventually had to destroy him because the research I was looking at was he was too much. Basically, he was misunderstanding his role and started attacking things that the golem shouldn't have, named Joseph. But apparently it's a tradition still, depending on families. But exactly what you said, Michelle, I've heard that most of them come from being passed down to family member to family member to family member.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, that it works that way. To me, it's interesting. I don't think people quite understand how powerful we are as human beings. We've all talked about this. I mean, we've all said it on our shows. We are really powerful. We can project a lot of energy. We can attract a lot of things. We can create a lot of things. And that's just one example. And it's a really ancient thing. I mean, golems are, what do you do if you have a renegade golem?
That's kind of what they were talking about. Like Contessa added, or Connie, she says, the scroll is put in its mouth to activate it, and you have to take it out to deactivate
it. So then you have a big lump of something sitting there. Yeah, see?
So what is the difference then? Is religion and the intention different between a golem and creating a puppet?
I don't know anything about puppets, so you'd have to tell me more. I've heard of them, but I've never looked into them.
So it's a doll that you stuff and you create on your own with a specific intention, but usually it might be towards somebody else, right?
Well, the voodoo community has a lot of those, or the witchcraft community. I understand now. Okay. Yeah. I think they sell them with intentions. Like this is one for wealth. This is one for love. This is one. Yeah. Is that what we're talking about? That sort of thing? Okay.
Yes. And
then
again, intention. Your 8-year-old daughter how to make them when she was 8. So
great.
For specific things, right? No different than a dream pillow, like teaching her how to make a dream pillow as well too. With intention, is the golem just has more of a religious protector, it originates this way.
Well, it sounds like they activate them, that if, say, a town or a religious community within the Jewish faith feels that they are under siege or huge duress, is when they would activate their golems. And the golem, again, what I read was the golem never speaks. Never mind that it's got paper under its tongue, but also that only God could grant speech. So they pulled in all the elements. I didn't want to overload you. I had sent you some stuff, Kerrilynn, but there was a really good documentary. It was only about 12 minutes long, and she dug quite deep into the history behind it. And again, it's clay. I got questions too. Well, why not throw water at it, right? If it's clay, or something, fire hose, like with that stuff.
So it presents like clay. If there's somebody on the receiving end, that's how they will perceive it, as a clay.
It looks like a big giant honking, like the thing from when you've seen those,
like a blobby thing, isn't
like
it?
a blobby man, like the pictures I saw, and it's big hulking. It looks like a man, but it looks obviously like it's made out of not clay. It almost, the way it was depicted, was stone, but it is made of clay. And when it's created, again, they went into the particular prayers from the Torah. Only the person that was the highest at the community, meaning head rabbi, basically, was the one that would create it. And then they were talking about there's paper under the tongue, but also the rabbi can inscribe particular words in the Jewish script, and a Jewish word, I don't know if it's the name of the family, the name of the town, protection, whatever it may be.
I don't know. I mean, it's a really old piece of lore, so it's definitely something they've been doing for a really long time. And again, what happens if you end up with family, you have nowhere to leave it to? What happens if you forget to deactivate it? What happens if you pass away before you get to deactivate it?
Those would be all the forgetting. I use my dowsing rods to find my glasses at least twice a day.
Where did I put my golem?
I just got tired of me clapping my hands, hoping my glasses would answer back. And they never did.
Oh my God. And you lost your golem? Where did I put my golem?
I would.
Oh my
Hello,
God.
perimenopause. Don't make one during perimenopause. Don't be in charge of one.
Questions. Why not any female golem? I never read about any females. It was a male type energy.
do they just use the male pronoun, but it does it really, it's genderless, I would have thought. Is it
I don't know.
genderless?
What I've saw and what I've read, it sounded like it was male. They assigned at least the belief that it was created in, maybe because men traditionally were always stronger and more muscly built than, say, a woman. And most men, I'm not saying all, but most men are stronger than most women.
Well, it's like the hunter-gatherer, right? The women are the
Right.
nurturers and the men are the hunter-gatherers, protectors, of ancient tradition, unless you get into those who have done goddess worshiping for, tens of thousands of years
Yes.
or more.
Mm-hmm.
Then
So
we're the boss.
Yes.
That's what it is.
There we
Okay,
go.
so Connie says the word truth is on its forehead, I believe. I
Mhm.
had seen that, but I had also, because I dug into this for a couple hours because I didn't know what a golem was, but I wanted to be a little bit more succinct with what I was sharing. And I have seen that the word, and Connie is saying it, I think Shem, Shem, is one of God's names. Some of the research I looked into, it could be truth. It could be other words. And again, they obviously aren't going to tell people the exact verses and how to make one in the video I watched, but there were different words that could be used depending on the creator, the head of that community religiously.
Did you
Which
bring
would
up
make
Kenny?
sense.
I'm going
Kenny
to. You
Blackburn's
can just highlight it. Go ahead. Help yourself, ladies. I didn't even think I had to tell you. Go ahead, highlight away.
No, because when we started doubling up like that last time, my computer decided to go right, and it booted me right out of StreamYard. So I'll just sit and yes, it was very interesting, Michelle.
She knows. She knows because it happened on Wednesday night before we went live, and you weren't in the back, like in the green room yet. And it did it to me. I just disappeared, and it's been doing that. So you didn't do anything wrong. Right, Michelle?
So,
Kara, just keep here. Sit on my hands. I'm just going to sit on my hands.
Yeah.
I tell you in grade school.
I've got them on my mug.
Okay, so is this the comment you were talking about?
Yes, thank you. Okay. We just need one chief. You're the chief tonight, and I'm following.
All right, then please read away, because I thought it was.
I will read. Kenny Blackburn is commenting. It's always the intent. Every religion. Thank you. Yeah.
This is what we've talked about, even in cleansings and doing clearings. It's not so much about what you're doing to clear as it is about the power you put behind the words that you're using, the strength and the power of the intention and the mindset. It takes a lot of time for people to understand that. You can't just go around waving a smudge stick and thinking you're doing the job. Like, it's not going to freaking work.
While saying love and light. Love and light.
I do that when I'm road raging. I'm just like, just screw off, love and light. I know, I'm terrible.
So this is the thing. Thoughts, words, deeds, and actions all have to be at the same frequency.
Yes.
With it just has to all be in alignment, or it's not going to work. Go sideways.
Yeah, but that's what the principles behind magic and alchemy as well, right? You don't have to tell somebody read somebody else's spell and follow it. You can create your own spell. We create spells every day that we don't realize why we do. And when
prayer is a form of spell casting.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
There's so many things that we do, and then people look down on, magic or whatever, especially with the word witch, but they don't realize how much we have adopted into our society and cultures of spells. Look at the word spelling in English, right?
Exactly.
Did you want me to read Vet Girl's comment?
Please do. Vet Girl, yes.
Vet Girl 84. It's the magic behind it, like Frosty the Snowman with or without the hat.
Yeah, correct. Bringing him to life. That's exactly right.
I thought
that we're all singing on key.
Go ahead. Sorry. I've got a delay and I keep forgetting. And then I think there's a pause and I go to talk. And then it's like, Laura, stop. The one word, and I've heard this word before, but I've never dug into it. They also added under a tulpa or an egregore was a servitor. And a servitor is a tulpa created to serve the magician, usually by accomplishing a specific task. It's like an astral robot. Do you guys know much more? Like, or anybody in the chat, have you heard that before? Like, that makes me think of the magician's
Well,
rabbit.
I just
don't
call
know.
them my personal minions.
Servitor. Servitor.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I want to minion too.
Yes.
I too want to minion. Yeah.
Or is it like a familiar, but you work with the
Yes.
astral realm? But you work
My
with
sister has a familiar. It's a
really?
Chihuahua. He rules the household. I'll always say when he's like, is your sister coming with her familiar? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't, have you guys ever heard of the Nathaniel Gillis talked about this? I never heard about this before. Homunculus.
Oh my gosh. I am so glad you said that, because I looked at the video and I pulled it up. There's one that I'm getting goosebumps.
There
So
we
you've
go.
never heard of a homunculus?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I heard about it. Never heard of it until Nathaniel came on and we started talking about it because it's part of his research. And it went really deep. I went into it always goes deep with that, but it reminded me a little bit of the Frankenstein monster.
I have, and I saw this years ago. There is a video that has gone viral with a Russian gentleman who I looked this up today. I didn't know it was going to come up, but I just tucked it away just in case. And I found it. It took me a while to find it. It's a 12-minute video. He's got on like one of those old-time war gas masks, so you can't see who he is. And he's speaking, and he hatches a live homunculus out of an egg. This is before a lot of Photoshop and before a lot of or any AI. It's
That
gross.
makes me want to vomit.
It's gross. It's gross. And then the guy did a reel on it, and I have that if anybody's interested, I'll tell you where to find it. And he goes, yeah, this is a viral Russian video. He goes, the guy basically injects a chicken egg with his, what did he call it, baby juice or something? And he had tape over it, and he hatched it.
Or you
And
have to send me that one. I need to see that.
Yes, because then what happened, this guy was
Yeah.
kind of funny, but it's really morbid, because what happened was the thing hatches and it spits something at him. Like it's like a worm almost, because there's a lot of fake homunculus videos out there. Believe me. I don't know why I looked them up today.
We need to stop. We need to pause for a second, and we're going to roll back, and you need to tell me what that is to start with. Besides a worm that's spitting, because this like inappropriate brain went somewhere else in the conversation.
It's exactly what Michelle described. It's basically creating a living being by mixing, I don't know, DNA from different creatures and creating another living being.
Mm-hmm. Like think Frankenstein.
So,
I always say Frankenstein's probably the easiest way.
You can't put intent into that. So you're just making a creature that's going to have its own consciousness and be let free?
Yeah, like it's made. It's not bred, let's say, from like what we would call a womb. Like they're saying, it's basically comes from the grave. You know what I mean? It's something that is made of many different things. And the Frankenstein monster, I thought was a good analogy. I was like, wow, that's very interesting. It's you can
already
it's an alchemy thing.
already
I'll send you the video. Okay, so this might go a little further. The guy that was making a reel out of it. So he goes, yeah, he hatches it. This wormy kind of thing comes out. It's about the size of your baby finger. And it doesn't have, I don't think it has an eye in the one that he does, but it spits something at him. And he's got this big book there and he goes smack with it. And the guy's making a joke. There's nothing gory. He just goes, oh my God, he just killed his baby egg or something, or made some funny comment with it. But it is the creepiest, weirdest video. And I wasn't looking for it. It was when I used to be on my old network. And I did my show Monday through Friday. And we get into some pretty weird stuff. You weren't censored back then. And I had found this and my mind was blown. Like just blown. I could not believe this existed, but it does.
Mm-hmm. So moral compass and ethical complications and karma producing, wouldn't any of, how does all that play into
Well, then I came across, not even looking, that in Japan, they are basically making chimeras with animals, injecting human stem cells to try to grow organs for organ transplants. And supposedly they've made the promise they're going to test that if the DNA of the organ or anything contains more than 30% of human beings, basically DNA, they'll stop doing it. And I didn't know we were going to talk about this tonight. It's just so
I was just like,
Michelle.
I thought I'd throw it out there because it's still the creation with intention.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he
And-
intended to create this. And I don't think,
Yeah.
because that's like the guy was making a funny comment with the reel that's only about a minute and a half long.
Mhm.
But he's right. Like, if this is half human and a chicken egg, like, where ethics, morals, values is can this thing think? Can it feel? Is it got some of the attributes of being a human being?
Well, you can almost say the same thing about, trying to recreate these, like the dire wolf, for example.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Cloning. Let's go clones.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of an idea, no?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, if hypothetically, I mean, we're going to, every living thing has some kind of an essence,
True.
right? Of a soul, like an essence. So what happens when we start creating and bringing things back to life that have no essence? Would that be considered a
Angry
a faith
Santa
thing? Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, that's a wolf with no
angry.
conscience. Yeah. So,
No, but I
Yeah.
even
See?
said on
Yeah.
your show Wednesday
Volatile.
night.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Kerrilynn. I was just going to remind you that when we were on your show Wednesday night, Michelle, and we were talking about some of these topics too, right? With the dire wolf. Well, I'm sure all of them are white, right? And how do
No,
you
they're
know
not.
exactly? They're doing
No.
this supposedly with DNA with chickens, because
Mhm.
birds come from obviously the dinosaur age, and the bones that are recovered from digs, they're finding actual DNA they can actually extract, and they're trying to create it with chicken eggs to bring dinosaurs back. I've seen some of these research papers.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Like
So
raptors.
I've seen video clips. Have you guys seen
Yes.
seen this? Yes,
Yes.
it looks like raptors in the wild, but they're much smaller. But where I was even going to go with that, now they're talking about the woolly mammoth. They weren't sure if it was the woolly mammoth or the dire wolf they were going to work on. The world is not suited to a woolly mammoth anymore. Where would it go? What would it eat? Where would it live? Right? Nobody's thinking about it. It's basically like that girl 84 says, humans playing God.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And no essence. So do you just have this, this being just sort of wandering around?
Mm-hmm. I knew. I was thinking this vet girl. Someone didn't pay attention watching Jurassic Park again. Well, that's
Or
just
Prometheus 2. Did you
What
guys
was
watch
that?
Prometheus?
No.
Prometheus. Prometheus 2 specifically, where this biochemical stuff gets mushed in with the crew and becomes this like alien monster thing.
Yes. See?
And so they think that they're
What's the lesson there, kids?
Yeah.
No cloning.
Well, the other thing that they're doing, because I look at a lot of research, as we all do, and there is a burial that basically it's like a water cremation, it's called.
Mhm.
And they use chemicals and to liquefy the body. So obviously the bones are still left, and the fillings, anything that doesn't break down. And then they flush the liquid back into our water supply. Then they cremate. Yep. Then they just cremate the bones, and that's what's given back to the family. That is scary, because that's the point the person was making in this research paper and video, because the fillings are still in there, the mercury, any medications the person took, say they were ill and died of cancer or something, all the chemotherapy agents, all the drugs they were on, everything else, if they were, and it's all going back into our water supply. They're basically flushing it down the toilet.
There's no Brita filter that I can use now that will help me.
I know. I was thinking that. Oh my goodness. I know.
That is terrible. I like the one where they just replant you into the forest in a pod and throw you in the forest that you grow.
Right. So we have haunted forests. I think that's amazing.
But you don't need the body to be haunted.
Yeah, but that made me think about paranormal activity too. Like my brain has a million questions always, as does all of ours, I'm sure. So you're emptying basically the essence of a human being, all the physicality of it, back into the water supply. We know that water extremely powerful with holding energy and intention.
That's
So
true.
what are you releasing into the water supply that we are now drinking? Never mind the ick factor, but
I see a new movie coming out because everything about that is wrong.
And Kathy Hanley Little, Soylent Green. Yeah. And then Kevin says, why would they be soulless? Because they were not made by a creator. I think you're referring to Golum again.
Or
we're talking about
whatever you said.
Oh, okay. The homunculus.
How do we or clones, right? Like the dire wolf and so on. But no, that was the question. Like, if the theory is it a faith thing, or does every living thing actually have an essence, which is an energy, right? Your essence holds your memories. Your essence holds literally like everything, right? Like that is that the body dies, the essence goes on.
Yes.
So if there's no essence, then it's just like a body walking around. Then what? I guess where I was going.
Not on air, but off air, I've had some of these conversations with people who have looked at this, and they claim that we do have basically soulless bodies walking around this planet. Not all of them, but there are some, they claim.
So is that where you get, walk-ins or step-ins or things like that? Like,
as I understand walk-ins, isn't it that if, say, somebody decides they no longer want to be here for whatever reason, then because I believe there's a lineup of souls to come here, because it's one of the most difficult places to come.
Yes.
And you can do a lot of stuff in one lifetime here. So say, and then I think also if that particular individual who no longer wants to play anymore, basically, and I don't mean that
can
just
step out,
and they're affecting a lot of other different contracts, an agreement can be made for that essence, another soul to walk in. I'd love to hear your thoughts, both of you, on that. What are your thoughts on that or understanding?
Want to go, Kerrilynn?
Are we talking about walk-ins?
Walk-ins and step-ins, yeah.
So I've only, my experience, have come in contact with clients and working this way with 3 people that had walk-ins, and to me I don't think it happens as frequently as what people want to say that it does. I don't think that it's I think 3 in 18 years is a high number. And it was weird because it was still within a family structured line, each one, like what I saw leaving and who came in was still within their ancestral line and in their ancestral lineage,
which is pretty cool. And then you have like step in
a crisis health moment too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, so what's the difference between a walk-in and a step-in?
Step-ins are just believed to be people who, for example,
I don't either.
If you're in a coma.
Yeah.
And, people make this assumption that the essence just stays in the body. It's like making the assumption that when you're asleep at night, you just stay in the body. I always say, to me, it'd be like sleeping in your car in the garage. It'd be crazy. But, so, we tend to travel. Some people have traveling dreams. Some people just, I don't think we just lay there, right? We go and we go home, whatever the case may be. If this is, my personal thought, because I'm a traveler. But there have been cases where people have either left the body, having an out-of-body experience. Sometimes they're aware. I think if you're aware of it, it doesn't happen like it would if you're not aware that you've left the body, or if you're in a coma. How many times have you guys read stories where someone comes back from being in a coma, like years, and they have absolutely no idea who the people around them are?
All the time, a lot.
Yeah, they have recollections of a whole other life. So I don't know.
Hi, CL Thomas. She's one of our hosts here. Welcome. So I have heard that with being a nurse. I haven't worked with anybody personally, but definitely have heard of it. And then, of course, you get the medical field and science walking in and saying because they've been out of the body for so long, there obviously had to be some problems with the brain because they were in a coma for the amount of time they were, rather than looking at exactly what you're talking about right now. Like, right?
There's, I think if you're an energy source, and I guess this comes around full circle to everything we're talking about as energy sources. I think whether it's through projection or whether it's just through, essence, we do have, and there are things out there that have the capability of jumping into anything. So what if you get a step in that jumps into like a tulpa? Saying.
I wonder. No, but you have to think
I'm going to
about
hybridize,
Because I think Kerrilynn asked a good question earlier about if everybody stopped talking about and thinking about, say, Slenderman, would it just sort of fizzle out and die out? Or could it be reanimated? Like we're talking about step-ins. There's all kinds of things, like so many questions.
Well, and when you were talking earlier about, you guys are going to have to help me out because my neurodivergent brain went sideways, and all I could think about was the Night King in Game of Thrones. And if he killed the Night King, then everybody else died because one has the soul and the essence, and the rest of them didn't.
Yes, that was crazy. So he's the source.
Or like the alpha vampire, alpha werewolf, like the creator. Once you take the creator out, then it's all over, right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Well, I should do our station ID since we've had a quick break. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, you're listening live to UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. And you can listen to us on 105.3 in Mississippi and the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the Angel Rock. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. I have these two beautiful ladies beside me. You know them well. We have to my right, we have Michelle Desrochers. She is our station manager, as well as she has the Beyond the Outer Realm. What time is it again, Michelle, on Tuesdays Beyond the Outer Realm?
Beyond is 2 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays. And tomorrow just happens to be... I'm daring to take some time off. Yes.
Good for you.
Woohoo. It's going to be a Nathaniel Gillis rerun as we talk about Nathaniel. So have fun. Have fun, guys. Yeah.
You have the Outer Realm at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
And then below us, we have the beautiful Miss Kerrilynn Shellhorn, who is the host of Spirit Switchboard on Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then we co-host together on Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern with Beneath the Hollow Moon. And I want to give a huge thank you to Joe Montaldo, who provides this wonderful space for all of us to come together and has for over 25 plus years. He also is the host of some of his own shows. He's got UFO Undercover. I know he's got News on the Flip Side. And I want to thank Michelle Desrochers for all the hard work she does as our station manager too. And
you're welcome.
For Carnation Mondays. So thank you, Michelle, for all the hard work you do.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
So many questions. Like that's why when I wrote the write-up for the show, I mentioned Tulpas, Egregores, Golum, and Dybbuk boxes we haven't even got to yet. And I said,
I was going to say we haven't got to that part.
What's that, Kerrilynn?
I was going to say we didn't even hit that yet, but we've got.
We're going there. We're going there.
40 minutes to go.
More often. We got to do this more often because you know what? We get busy. And then we had so much fun Wednesday night on your show, and Kerrilynn was booked. And I said to Michelle, you got to join us if you're free, please.
It's a lot of fun. It's always fun hanging with you guys. So it's great.
Okay. So Dybbuk boxes. So how I found out about Dybbuk boxes was Mindseed TV with Casey. He's on YouTube. He blew up because of this. His video went viral, and it was because he was I think he had heard about the story of somebody's grandma, I think, that passed away, that they had what was called a Dybbuk box or a wine box. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And he went to a garage sale and bought it and gave it to his mother as a gift for her birthday. And the minute she opened it, she had a massive stroke. And basically, a lot of things started going bad in his life. And he said it really wasn't anything special. It was this wooden box, and it seemed to have some hair. And then I think there's pictures of it. There was, because I watched a quick documentary today. It had looked like Jewish looking, almost candle holders. He said basically it just looked like a woman's collection box of memories type of thing. And everything started going wrong in his life, and he wanted to get rid of the box. So he ended up selling it to a student who went from being apparently a college student, A+ college student, never been in trouble, was now on probation. The kid was like, get rid of it. So I believe with the Dybbuk box, the original one that we've heard about, I don't think it's the original box. I think they've been created for a long, long, long time in Jewish culture.
That happened.
And he wanted to get rid of it too, because he was having, I even actually captured some pictures. This guy had all kinds of problems with this Dybbuk box. He ended up moving it over to the property next to where his house was and put it in there. And he said he left it. Nobody was in the house. He went back about 6 months later. He said it literally looked like what you would describe manna from heaven, all white all over. He said all these bugs, and he got pictures of them. They were venomous. They've never been in the house. They all scurried when he went in. There was just tons of them. Even the spiders were frozen in time, like white. And I have some of the screenshots of this. It was mind blowing. So he was trying to get rid of it. I believe he had to go visit a couple rabbis, and he had to create a box made out of acacia wood, lined in 24 karat gold. His words were, he was told by the rabbi that God had deemed gold not even basically worthy of man. So it was the highest mineral he could put in. And in this documentary, he opened the box to show people where the Dybbuk box now is. He's got it locked up in this special box, locked up in another locked box, because he's kind of a collector. So please, if I missed anything, is there anything you'd like to share? Because there's still history of it and what?
Well, I mean, yeah, black and white it is, based on Jewish folklore. And it usually when you have a really, I guess, a disembodied soul, a restless spirit who hasn't moved on, who's just really aggravated and, annoyed, whatever, then they would seal it into a box. I mean, other cultures will take other items and try to bind a spirit to it. I think what happened with the Dybbuk box is when they came out with that movie, I think it was called The Possessed or Possession or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it really picked up speed, right? And then of course there's, the favorite, there's a popular paranormal show out there that there's this big thing on it, and I purchased it, and okay, we're in the haunted museum. Okay, we're gonna spend
Post Malone
hours
touched it.
looking at it.
I remember that. I saw that.
But right now the consensus on that is that it's basically a fake story or a fraud. So we don't know for sure. You know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, it comes back into the fact that many different cultures. The Dybbuks, of course, is more Jewish folklore, and they will bind a spirit to it and put some of their personal belongings in there to basically assist with binding the spirit, from what I gather on that.
Somehow it got out, though, that they were using it to bind negative spirits that they believed to be around. And then I've seen other history where, no, it wasn't that. It was exactly what you said. Because I don't know if you've seen the Mindseed TV video with Casey. Now, this was years ago. Like, he became famous because of this experience, because he didn't believe in it. Right. So he claimed, and again, we didn't see it live, but he had paranormal equipment. He had his EMF meter and everything out. It was basically status quo, no problem. And then he opened up the box, and he was describing when he opened it, it had this weird smell. His EMF meter started going off. Now, again, we can't prove whether this is real or not, you guys. We just can't. He didn't do it live. But he started having all kinds of problems and activity, and he was documenting it. And he had to call somebody in to come and help him clear his living space. There were a couple nights he gathered up his dog because it was almost like it's a pretty long video. He was documenting some of the stuff that was happening, and he did try to debunk it. Again, was he telling a story to get his name out there? I don't know. Okay, here we go. So we've got Grant. Hi, Grant. Welcome, Grant Evans. So Grant says, if I can read this, hi, ladies. For the Dybbuk box, you should search up original. Hang on, this is moving. I can read it better this way. The original. Sorry, Grant, it's moving on me. I'll try and read it.
Yeah, Kevin Manis, I think, was the name of the
Kevin.
guy.
That's the documentary I watched.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
the original owner of the box, the legends and stories that were created are admitted. I gotta put my glasses on. Sorry, Grant.
Do you want me to read it?
Please do, because it's moving too fast for me to read it on the other side. Please do, Kerrilynn. Thank you.
So Grant Evans is co-director of TOPS, the Ontario Paranormal Society. He's been on Spirit Switchboard a couple of times. He is a fan favorite when he comes on, and
I love when he comes on.
Me too. So his contribution, he's saying, hi, ladies, for the Dybbuk box, you should search up the original owner of the box, the legends and stories that were created. He admitted to being a hoax.
Oh, he did? Okay.
And if you dive into Jewish folklore, such a thing doesn't exist. Doesn't mean objects can't hold energy, and once given enough attention can manifest into what we have made them into be, which is exactly what we're talking about tonight. And with Dybbuk boxes, my really only understanding was to me equivalent to vampire hunting kits, where there are so many that are created that are just for sales. So people can make a buck from paranormal enthusiasts who don't know how to vet out where they are purchasing things from.
100%.
Sorry.
Is it kind of a tulpa that somebody believes the legend and lore out there, and then when they get this box, that because their belief is so strong, or you have a collection of people, that you literally almost create the activity that you're experiencing from fear, belief, and what have you, right?
It's not hard to attach energy to anything. I think if the belief is strong enough, like I was saying, dealing with different cultures who believed their intention was to attach this spirit that's given them a headache, to an object, and thinking that, like, to try to bind the energy. When a spirit, restless or not, it's energy. It's free energy. And energy is not really that hard to manipulate. Really, it's not. So if the intention is strong enough and the belief is strong enough, then I think it falls back to exactly what you're saying. We just create a tulpa, or, is the belief so strong that maybe we have something else coming in and attaching and just mimicking and just being moved around. Energy is a funny thing.
Right. It's the same thing when you look at paranormal activity. Of course, TV and movies and make you think that everything all the time there's something negative and evil attached. No, but there have been cases where an entity will be like, let's look at antique stores, for example. Does it mean that every antique is haunted? No, but there's a lot of energy, the older the piece is, that it's been with different families, different people, different environments, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another. So does it collectively gather energy? And so how we get hauntings?
Well, how about intention? Like you say, we automatically assume. I have a piece that's from the 1400s, and it's not haunted at all. And you would look at it and you would think, that thing's got to be freaking haunted. It's got to be haunted. But it's not haunted. So it's like looking at a cemetery. We assume it's haunted. No, they're not always haunted. An old, decrepit, abandoned building, that's got to be haunted. No, it's not haunted.
That's kind of like Shankland that you and I discovered a while back, Kerrilynn, he's from, I believe, Navajo Nation as well. I know we have the Yazzie brothers not brothers, sorry.
No relation.
No relation. I corrected myself on Sundays. But Shankland, I love what he did with teaching as well on YouTube, is he was teaching people to start to feel energy versus using your eyes and judging a book by its cover. So you put up these really spooky images. And I think only maybe one or two that he would have contributed or would have believed to be more negative, Kerrilynn, if I remember correctly, within his cultural beliefs, versus the really scary ones were actually good spirits he believed to work with. Do you remember that video?
Two. Yeah, so it's about perception, right? So all of your experiences, including your belief system and what's passed down to you culturally and your environmental influences, are going to influence how you perceive the information that you're taking in, right? And he said out of all of the images, there was only two that were actually scary. The rest were ones that were look scary, but they're there as protectors and there to help work in the astral metaphysical realm.
Or like you said, Michelle, with the pieces that you have, or, you've seen buildings, I'm sure we all have, and you think, gosh, it's got to be haunted. And it's not. Like, for example, living where I live, there's a beautiful golf course, but it's almost like a forest within the north side of the city that goes back, and there's bike trails. And I remember as a kid driving by this one house, it was set way back, really creepy trees. It had all these Bible verses over top of the house. Like, it really looked scary. I remember I was terrified. And lo and behold, being a community visiting nurse, who do I get as a patient years later? One of the most beautiful, loving souls you have ever met. And I've never forgotten that. Like, that went way back to my childhood, reading Bikes by there. And you would have swore, like, everybody talked about it. The witch lived there. That place is full of ghosts and haunted things, and they're evil. And they couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I know. But it weaves a good tale, perfect for Beneath the Hollow Moon.
It becomes folklore, right? And if people are not educated about how to use equipment properly, like paranormal equipment, and it's not just about how to use it properly, it's understanding how it works and why it works and where you're using it and how it can be influenced. Because I know that I have two haunted dolls that are not necessarily haunted. And if it's just that I'm not giving it the intention and energy, so they just sit there. And that was the rule. Sure, I'll come. Take these.
It goes along with Mish just asked. She said, "Could it be haunted only to certain people, not to you, but to someone else?"
I love that question because I've been given haunted pieces, and maybe it's just your energy doesn't jive with the spirit's energy, because things that have come to me, one was a skull that's sitting on the back, on the counter back there. It's called a phantom. Anyway, this thing caused a whole lot of havoc, apparently. I always say allegedly because I didn't witness it, and I could not capture, through investigations, I could not capture evidence of it. But different members of the family went, no, things are happening. That's the way it goes. So it was given to me, and I said, okay, no problem. I always keep things. I'll put it in storage for, 2 couple of years, 3 years. When it gets in my way, I'll say, look, yay or nay, it's done something, it hasn't. Do you want it back? Otherwise, with some pieces you can donate, like furniture or small things. It can go to Habitat, or, usually I donate things to Habitat for Humanity. Anyway, so this thing it sat on my desk. I had a little baseball cap on it. I used to talk to it. I mean, I'm trying to have an interaction. Zilch, not a thing, never a problem. And now it sits on the shelf, and because the family's like, no, I don't want it back. And it's not the kind of thing, because it's real, that I can just go to Habitat for Humanity anyway. No, I'm the only one apparently that gets excited about things like that. Nobody at Habitat's going to do that. So
my granddaughter has tea parties with the one doll, and it's the one that's like not so pretty looking, really, but
she's fine with it. Yeah, see? There you go, right off the bat.
Everybody needs love, and I love that about your granddaughter, that she's not judging something by the way it looks, but having fun and putting positive energy as well into that doll.
Mm-hmm.
So we have from Jim Rollo. He says an example. I'm going to let you read, Kerrilynn, because otherwise I got to put my glasses on and go, huh? Is that okay?
So Jim Rowe, our Sudbury folks.
Yay, Sudbury.
Yeah.
An example of that is the Witch House in Niagara-on-the-Lake. No one will buy it. The owner since 1956 has had no paranormal experience, still for sale. I don't know.
Well, I knew of a house in Niagara-on-the-Lake that was in shambles. It was extremely haunted. May have cleared it. And now it's been, workers couldn't even work in it. It's been completely renovated now. And now the township has it. So it's not, I don't know if it's the same house. Obviously not, because I don't know if this one was privately owned or not, because it was a very historic house. But I mean, do people factor that in, that you can actually get places cleared? You know, and I drive by it regularly, so you know if there was an issue with it, and no problems.
So Zsun Dragon or Kevin says, Michelle, could it also be your own protection boundaries that you're not having those haunted experiences?
Maybe in some cases, for the most part, you would still know if if the thing was haunted or not, and nothing in that thing, like not a thing. So I think at that point, it's safe to say that with that object anyway, it's fine. I have not taken in anything. I think what happens is you have investigators going into places and saying, oh, everything is centered around this, because a family says, well, whenever we sit at this table, for example, we have a problem. Because I had to go to Muskoka to pick up a table because this woman was convinced based on, and it was not so much, it was on the border of Muskoka anyway. So it was just, I'd never heard of the specific team that had been in there. So it's like, okay, it needs to come out of the house right now. I've got kids. I'm worried about it. It's like, oh, there's a trek, but I made the trek, got the table, looked at the table, and kind of went, there's nothing wrong with this table. I tried to assure her there's absolutely nothing wrong with this table. Nope, there's something wrong with the table. Okay.
She hooked you when she said kids.
I know. That's exactly right. As a parent, you're like, get that thing out of there, right? But it's been in storage for about 6 years. And it's going for donation in the next probably, couple of months.
No, but you know what you had said to me years ago?
Because I know it's safe.
Well, let's just say you said this years ago. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys that I'm going to celebrate it. It's my 6-year anniversary this week, starting on UPRN. Love UPRN. Now, this came from when we did a paranormal conference. Conference. I got conference on the brain. And I never considered this, but I've never forgotten it. And it was when you were talking about teenage girls, especially younger teenage girls. Mm-hmm. We go through a lot of hormonal changes, never mind just life in general, that we can actually be telekinetic. We can do all kinds of things that look like activity. So where I'm going with this is, and I'm not saying that the kids were teenagers, but mom's already got a fear. She's got
women with menopause also experience this, by the way.
Yeah.
Because they're going through a change in life.
Mm-hmm. But mom was afraid, right? Had this deep-seated belief that this table was haunted and it was icky, it was awful. And the energy with it, is there a chance? Like, how often do we see that? And we know, working within the paranormal, that our first rule of order is to rule out, right? Not that we don't believe you, but let's just see what it could be versus, oh yeah, you got a problem here, right?
Well, for sure. That's what I'm saying. We're powerful beings. Telekinesis, psychokinesis. I've told people that, you're experiencing a projection of energy. Mm-hmm. It's like psychokinesis. Sometimes I'll just send people a link because people don't want to believe it. It's easier to believe that there's something really malevolent in the house than it is for them to think that I'm projecting energy. It seems surreal to some people. So I'll send them links that are very descriptive and, describe everything they're experiencing. I'll say, does any of this resonate with you? And more times than not, I've had people say, you know what? It's a 50-50. I bet you only 10% of the time people have said, yes, this resonates with me. Yes, this seems it makes the most sense to what's going on. Then I've got that other 40% going, no bloody way. There's something in the house. So it's like, okay.
Because it's accountability.
Yes.
It's accountability and having to face and deal with emotions that they're trying to repress. Right.
Yes.
And
yes.
Plus, I
Makes a lot
think
of sense.
it's so distasteful to us because we've never been thought to think of this, right? That we could be creating our own fear. The one thing we want to run from, the one thing that we're reaching out for help and we're saying, oh my gosh, why is this happening? This is horrible. I'm terrified. I don't want to be in my house. And then to hear that maybe you're the one that's doing this, it's just inconceivable.
And terrifying your family. And
Yes, yes.
That's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Mort is asking, Mort Ali, Kerrilynn, can you tell psychically if an item is haunted?
Well, yes. If you are energetically sensitive, most people can. What's the word I want, folks? When you're hanging on to it and touching it. Though you don't even need to be in the same place. You can be completely far away and be able to tap into something.
Yep, I've done it too. The other thing is I like to make jewelry and stuff. And I remember the first time it happened years ago, I had these beautiful beads that were on a necklace that a friend of mine had given me, happened to have gotten it from a friend of a friend. And as I'm picking them up to string them, I'm like, a movie starts playing and you see when it was a husband that had presented this particular necklace when it was all intact, you could almost feel the love. Like it was it was a really profound experience. So yeah, I think I think most people are sensitive to energy. We've just never been taught to believe in it, to know about it, and then we dismiss it. It's my imagination. It's coincidence. It's this, it's that, right?
And it doesn't always have to be bad or just from what you said, I think people need to realize that energy can attach to something. And it could just be like, I mean, I've seen, items just talking and dealing with people for many years. And it's just like grandma might be attached to the ring, for example, like it's a very loving energy, but the ring is still has another active energy on it. Doesn't mean you have to be frightened of it.
Exactly. Victoria says, I have a ring from World War I. I won't touch. I bought it, but still haven't taken it out of the package. Energy feels very strong.
Imagine your Amazon box that's dropped off on your porch.
Exactly.
How many hands that has gone through? It doesn't have to be an antique.
Yes, exactly.
I had this conversation last year with a couple that had an extreme haunting that come in from time to time on the Thursday night show, and they were convinced that it was the dream catcher. They got some help with it. They had picked it up and bought it somewhere, but they were never buying another dream catcher again. And I'm not saying this with any disrespect, but I ended up saying to them on the show, have you got any idea, anything that you buy or you bring into your home, where it's come from? Exactly what you said, Kerrilynn. How many people's hands have touched it? Even your fruits and veg, everything. So we're not saying run around and be afraid of it. But the thing is, we can't just attach meaning to something, I think, that looks really scary, or maybe we've attached, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, there's energy everywhere. It's passed through many people's hands if we're going to be bringing it into our home.
It's a thing. It's a transference of energy. Absolutely. Absolutely. So.
Heidi is sharing, Kerrilynn, I think if that went out went out shopping and I have to touch everything. I'm tactile too. I'm a tactile person and I touch as well too. I will sometimes be super mindful though if I'm in a shite mood. I'm aware of that. So it's consciously being aware of what your space is. And I'll say love, love, love in my head too. In my head, I'm repeating it all day. Or if I'm with somebody who I feel is a little bit soul sucking because they're in a miserable mood, I'm saying love, 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 love in my head too. Like it is a beacon where they're not getting in.
My biggest thing is I have to remember, and I learned about this in third year university in nursing, when I had a professor stop the class. I was running late, and I had been upset about something for the reason why I was late. This is years ago. And I walked in. I was a few minutes late. I didn't slam my books down. I was very quiet. I sat down, and she stopped the class, and she said, Lorilei, do you realize that when you're in a good mood, it affects the whole class? And when you're in a bad mood, like now, it also affects the class. There was about 60 people there. And I know that, and I'm not special. We can all do that with our moods, our intentions, and what we know.
Our energy can enter the room before we physically do.
And stays after we leave. How many times have you walked into a room, didn't know what happened, but there's been an argument or a fight or...
I say that all the time. You have an argument with your significant other. You walk out of the space. You come back 2 hours later, wonder why you're feeling foul. Because it just sits there. And when you're arguing with somebody, it happens with such intensity that it's pretty... it's pretty ferocious when you walk back into it.
Your hair in particular, if you've been had a really toxic day or been around a lot of toxic people, your hair, your whole body can, but your hair in particular, I think that's why we've heard stories about, many of the hero stories and having the hair cut off. And I think hair in particular can hang on to energy as well. They do. The whole body can, but
yes,
I just think that's interesting that I've heard that many times.
That's how I taught the kids when they were very young about that as well too. And when you do that within your home, talk about energy from a really young age. As adults, we need to be prepared that our kids hold us accountable the same way. Because I know that my daughter had no problem holding me accountable. Your energy feels a little off. You should probably leave the room till you feel a little better and clear that. And she is like, felt very, and now she's like almost 30, but she's very strong and empowered and takes accountability of her energy as well too, and is aware of what she's putting out. So I think those are the kind of conversations that we need to normalize.
I agree
too.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, we're made up mostly of energy. You need to be able to educate on how to control yourself.
And be aware, like just some of the
Awareness
stuff we're talking about. So I have had something sent to me, not on purpose, but the person was pretty powerful with energetic thoughts and words and ruminating about it. And I know who the person was, but they didn't send it on purpose. Now, are they special? No. And I don't say that disrespectfully.
Most of the time, people don't even know they're doing it.
That's where I was going. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's why it's so important to ground your energy. This just kind of lessens the blow.
I'm still blown away that you brought up homunculus. And I just sent you the video. I got to stop saying literally.
I don't even know. Yeah.
I sent you the homunculus video while we were talking because I did look that up and I thought, why am I looking this up? I don't think we're going to talk about
I think I just saw it. The sinister homunculus. Sinister, no less. Oh boy. That'll be good viewing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I think that's the full video. I didn't go through the 12 minutes.
I'll send it to Nathaniel.
Oh yeah, maybe see what he says.
I will.
We got a few
questions. I think I want to have Nathaniel on as a guest because I was
thinking the same thing.
Yeah. You know what? He's amazing and he's been on several times. I know he's in the middle of some deep research and taking time off. I was able to lasso him for a date in October because he was just like, I'm taking some months off. And then there was talk of till the end of the year. I'm like, oh, you can't do that. So please come on for Halloween for something. Goes, okay.
People were saying when you first brought him up in the chat, Michelle, how much they love him, like watching him on your show.
They do. I'll tell you something. All of his shows do well on all my platforms. He does very well. He's very well researched. And I know the people he's researching a deep dive with right now. And he comes out with things, and all I can do is I'll do this often. Mind blown. It's really like that, because when you think you know so much, and I've had one of the other researchers work with on my shows before, and I just sort of think back to myself. It's like, this is a rabbit hole that so needs to be explored, but it's one that is so unorthodox and from what our conditioning, that people are kind of like going, you can't get your head around it. But then there are those who are already on board with all of it. And I'm thinking, am I in the dark ages?
Like
where have I been all this time?
Guy. Kathy Hanley
That's
Little.
how I feel. Like I'm a baby. I know nothing.
Kathy
It is
Hanley
mind
Little
blowing.
that his stuff, Nathaniel's stuff, is mind blowing.
Yeah, it really is. He's just so gifted. But with that comes, you end up with this bullseye on your back. And I don't think people realize when you work around these dark things, you have to be very careful, and you have to be able to protect yourself. And some people dive deep and can't necessarily protect themselves. Because these are conversations that I've had, even he and I. And there's it's pretty scary, because if they don't want you getting something out, you will be targeted, and there's no doubt about that. Something out there anyway. So,
well, when I came across go ahead, Kerrilynn. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and that's important to acknowledge, because people tend to think about the collective consciousness and all of our angels and our divine team, and they don't realize that lower energy stuff is still part of the collective and can connect and communicate with one another.
Yes, it is. It is. And the phenomena that he talks about, it makes you realize that a lot of the things we have been taught, that's a whole other show. So you guys are definitely gonna have to, try to get him on. I can definitely try to connect you when he's ready to go. But you realize that it goes against the grain of everything we've been conditioned to believe. And you sit back and you go, oh my gosh, it just makes so much sense. But there'd be some people that would look at that and go, with some of the topics, I think that's blasphemous.
Well, whether it's blasphemous or not, it exists. And you know what? I've always said, I've heard you say this too, Michelle, and we've talked about it, you and I, Kerrilynn, I've talked about it with many people. Knowledge is empowering. I've seen Wayne type it in the chat, and it is, because, right, if you can educate yourself, doesn't mean you have to put your focus there. But exactly with the word homunculus, I was going to say, I never forgot. I was not looking for this video. It was years ago. My mind was blown. I had to know more, because I would never have fathomed in a million years something like this even existed.
It's a really deep rabbit hole. I've said for years, acknowledgement is empowerment. Working with people, saying, if you give it to them, then you're taking it away from yourself. So don't give it away. Empower yourself. You acknowledge it. You're giving them strength. So don't do it.
Plus, it wipes out fear. Once you understand, even if you don't like it, you don't want to be around it. Knowledge is empowering, and it removes fear.
It empowers you, but it arms you at the same time, right?
So I heard that. Heidi Gall said, who just whispered, I did hear it as well. I don't know if anybody
from my end, where'd it come from? The key is where'd it come from?
Whose house?
What was that?
Whose house?
I don't know. I have a few questions started. We got a few minutes left. So Contessa asked earlier, so Mothman would be a cryptid, not a tulpa. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, correct.
I got to take that off of there, unstart. And then we got Kevin saying, by feeding into it by the masses, does that make it stronger? And I think when we were talking about egregores and tulpas.
Yes, agreed.
I agree too. Yeah. So there's been so many great comments here tonight, and everything that people are sharing. Heidi says, that was weird, Michelle. Or she says, Michelle, I think you were talking. And Kevin says, I think I've been hearing whispers and whistles the past 5 minutes. Mm.
Well, I don't normally have that here because I kind of do my best to keep the house like Fort Knox. But there is a parrot downstairs, but that's downstairs, and she's not a whisperer. She's a loudmouth.
Yeah, but I've
the only odd little voice I hear these days.
She's got a cute voice. You know what I think it is? So that sometimes I hear it's almost like the saying "ghost in the machine." Like it's not like it happened on my end, or say, I know the last ones we picked up, Kerrilynn, you picked up yourself, and I've heard them too as well. You know, with you. But I've had some happen where nobody has heard it with beside them, around them, anywhere. It's literally like a ghost in the machine.
I have to assume it's with you guys because people hear it on your other show. So I'm safe.
It's all our fault.
I'm safe. It's all you guys.
Well, I did work all day, and I didn't like clear it out when I was done. I like ran to get ready, and then we popped on here. But I don't know. It doesn't. Whatever it is, it's just whistling and interacting. It doesn't feel like anything concerning. Yeah.
But it
and we set the intention. We set the intention all the time that we want something to happen during the show. So I think that we're getting what we're asking for.
Yeah, but just because we get an EVP, again, it goes back to not everything is negative, you guys. Like it's not.
No.
And I'm not saying people are saying this for anybody listening. And that's kind of one of my pet peeves. And again, we live in a duality. We sort of mentioned, there's not all love and light. But I think it's where we put our focus as well, the frequency that we put out, right? Because like attracts like energy. And I think it's about perception. It goes back to the old saying of the glass is either half full or half empty. It's about perception.
Yes.
So,
yes, I agree.
We have a question from Mish. She says, when you were talking of golems, could they have sigils in them?
Sigils tend to be pretty sophisticated. I think it would depend on the creator, really, on the person who's manifesting it all. But usually, sigils in them, I guess, any sort of symbolism, whether they put it on parchment or on paper and put usually in their mouths or something along those lines, or, whether they carve it into it. If they're said to be made of clay, I suppose. You put whatever you want on them.
Across the forehead, the word and the intention.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's where we always go back to intention, energy, vibration, frequency, right? And that's what I think really helps us manifest or make anything happen, right? That's why some of the laws, not some, all of them do, the laws of the universe, law of manifestation, right? Vibration, frequency. Tesla knew what he was talking about how many years ago? He knew what he was talking about. That's why they took his work.
There's a whole other show in itself.
Exactly. We got lots to talk about.
Yes.
There, and I think that once, and I again, I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. When I have new guests on, before we go on, I always say to them, we have one of the most incredible audiences. They are so kind, but they are also so intelligent, because just everything that everybody shared here tonight with the discussion and their thoughts and the questions, right? It gives us pause for thought too. I wouldn't have thought of half those questions. What about the two of you?
No, I always say our listeners, our chat rooms are amazing, and it keeps you going. It's what keeps the show that much more interesting, because it's that contribution.
And it's creating a community.
Yes.
Yes.
Family.
Yes.
Did you get your questions answered, that some of the ones you were thinking, Kerrilynn, or did we barely just scratch the surface?
This is the one question that I still had. It was an order that I had never heard of before, Michelle. And Lorilei, sorry, I didn't.
I would ask Michelle. She'll probably know. She's a much better researcher. I like to research.
I don't know. We just research different things is all. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Oh, I've heard lots about it, but
go ahead.
I don't know anything about it.
That's another rabbit hole there too. So
it is a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to address, Kevin or Z-Sun Dragon, he said, no, not negative, just excited whispers, wanting to agree. I wasn't pointing you out. And I want to make sure that you didn't think I was, because I know you didn't mean it, that it was negative. So I don't know a lot about it, but from what I have seen with it is that it tends to be, if you dig deep, to be associated more, we'll say, with being careful on here, underground societies that use a lot of the principles of alchemy, magic, but not always with positive intention, to be safe on here. How does that sound, Michelle?
All right. So I'll
Is
deep
that the
dive
risk of being
outside of your
flagged?
Really, eh?
Mhm.
Okay, now I'm so it just came up really quickly because there was things that I didn't know about prior to this, and that kept coming up that name came up a couple of times. I didn't have an opportunity to deep dive to figure out what that was before the show.
But it
today.
sounds so positive, doesn't it?
It
Because-
does, but when
Well, a
you
lot
think
of times
everybody's
that
trying
presents
to,
that way.
everyone's trying to bring it back into the forefront within the world, we'll leave that
Mhm.
there. It's kind of scary.
It is scary, but it doesn't look like you can't just do a surface dive. Or for anybody listening, you need to remove the surface and dig down into the middle. And you
I
don't
don't
have
have time for that.
you don't need to be
And if
immersed.
it's on, if it opens up a door that I don't really want to go down, I don't need to know much more.
You set intention, and I'm not saying spending hours of research. It's just, if you just do a quick search and hit one link, is where my advice was. It'll sound like it's absolutely radiant, and you will, if you take all these principles,
no.
you evolve and grow and join us, you will just be so incredible, like with everything, like manifesting in your life. And that's what I'm saying. You got to just, you don't have to go deep, but you do need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, it can get a bit crazy, but it is a very interesting
It is
rabbit hole.
interesting. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
See, I told you guys, a baby. Just a little baby.
No, it's where we put our focus and intention, because I always learn from you when you're talking about the work that you do, Michelle, as well as Kerrilynn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we put our focus and our intention. So you become your own expert in what you do, right? Because we want to be authentic and understand the reasons behind what we are doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is why I always say, with what I do, there are no experts.
No.
That way I could just throw myself under the bus when something happens.
But that's what I meant, an expert for yourself.
For ourselves. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's always good to do your absolute best. Be the student. I always say I'm a student. I just want to keep learning and absorbing.
That's exactly what I was going to add. Go ahead, Kerrilynn. Sorry.
Just like the work that I do, that has never come up in anything that I have done. That has not been a topic of conversation in anything that I have done.
Okay, so
it was
Kev
new to me.
described it. Oh, sorry, Kerrilynn. Kev described it great. At least lift the dirt and peek. Then you can kick the dirt back and say nope. And when I say expert, I was going to add the provisor that we can't that we can't assume that we're an expert, but we try to know as much as we can in our field. I like to say that we're students of life. We continue to learn, grow, and evolve. I don't believe the same things I did a year ago, 5 years ago, right? And hold that I'm always willing to learn, always willing to change my mind. And as long as it's not utterly ridiculous, I'm willing to have an open mind and at least take a look at it.
Which is all you can do. It's everybody else that thinks, you're an expert.
You guys, we are out of time. We haven't got much time.
I know.
left.
We're there already. I know.
But we have to do this again. I loved having both of you on, and I think
Thank you.
everybody here. So tell them where they can find you, what's coming up with your shows and everything.
Well, tomorrow, rerun Nathaniel Gillis. Again, it's going to be talking about mimicry and such, guys. You guys remember this was aired back in March, so it's not too far back in the Wayback Machine, but definitely for those of you who missed it, I know without a doubt you'll enjoy it. But don't look for the chat room. I won't be there. And Wednesday and Thursday night, we have Maxim Furyk, who's going to be talking about his new book, which is let me grab it. Why am I having a brain toot? I really am having a brain toot. I hope I don't have to scrap this because I'm just an idiot. Coal Region Hoodoo. So essentially Tales from Inside the Pit, which is Pennsylvania and really incredible places, including Centrilla, by the way. And we have on Thursday night, we've got Vic Ferrari, who's an NYPD, ex-NYPD, and he's going to be talking about NYPD through the looking glass and coming from America's largest police precinct. So he teased and said, well, maybe I could get us a tour through the morgue. Okay, but I don't know if it'll happen.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be something? I know.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm hoping. I said, hey, about that tour. So we'll see.
Okay, Kerrilynn, who you got coming on Friday night? And then we'll tell them about Thursday night.
Well, so just tune in Friday evenings at 6 p.m. Right? Tune in Fridays at 6 p.m. for Spirit Switchboard. And then on Thursdays, I'm with you.
And we're talking about
cursed movies.
Ooh, there's a whole list of those.
I wasn't even looking.
I can't wait.
And quickly, it came up in my field. I did not know this. The Passion of the Christ has some high strangeness and weirdness too that we found.
Right? See, so it's not always paranormal.
Exactly. Well, kind of is in a way, but we never would have expected it. It just kind of was out there. I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring Mondays here and the Angel Rock as well on Mondays, obviously here for Carnation Mondays. And please stay tuned. Coming up next is Dolly Saffron and Preston Dennett with the Light Gate. I want to thank you all for being here. Next week, it's kind of UPRN July, I guess, because we are having Sean Kelly on. He's one of our other hosts. So Into the Night is his name of his show, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Okay. We're going to hop out of here, y'all. We love you. And we'll see you Thursday. And I know Michelle will see you replay tomorrow. I want to watch that. And then Wednesday and Thursday. And then Kerrilynn on Friday. And Thursday too. You got us all week. Love y'all. Have a good one.
Good night.
See you next week.